Welcome back to the Move Better Project. Today, something a little different on the channel. This is a workout for people who are feeling depressed or who are just feeling really low in motivation. You don't necessarily have to have clinical depression, as I do, to have days where you just have very little energy or very little motivation or just don't really feel like doing something that you know is good for yourself and that you know will make you feel better. And that's definitely where I'm at today. I'm a person who has depression and I go to a therapist and I take medication, but even with that, there's sometimes where it just comes up and I feel really bad and I don't eat right and I don't sleep very well and life just kind of takes a dip. And on days like that, it's really important for me to just do something. And even if I don't have the energy or the motivation to do a really hard workout, something that's really going to kind of be at the edge of my ability, where I'm really focusing on improving my abilities and capacity and getting stronger and more flexible and all those things that I like to do, I can at least do something that's at least giving me a little bit of momentum. Just gonna kind of pick myself up off the mat. Again, it doesn't have to be hard at all, and today's workout's gonna be really easy, but it is gonna be something that will reverse the effects of sitting and slouching, as I and many other people tend to do when we get depressed, have low energy, sit, lay down, look at the laptop, look at the phone, all that stuff. And I'm sitting on a little meditation cushion right now just so that I can sit up for this intro with really good posture. And that's what I'm trying to do with this workout. I want to reverse that state, physical and mental, that's kind of like this. And every movement that we do is going to focus on breathing and expanding and getting taller and getting bigger and changing your posture and your position in a way that's going to help make you feel better. All right, so here we go. All right, so I'm going to start. I just have a foam roller, and I'm going to start with the foam roller just right here at the top of my sacrum in the back. So I can feel a little ridge here. It's about even with the L4 vertebrae, which probably doesn't mean anything to the lay person, but it does mean it's sort of right at the bottom of your lower back, a little bit up from the very bottom. Okay, so that's my ridge. That's where the muscles, the paraspinal muscles of the lower back go all the way down, but a muscle called quadratus lumborum starts right there. And that muscle, when you spend a lot of time sitting, it just gets, you're just hanging out on it and it gets tired and tight. And then your hip flexors get short and then you stand up and your back overextends. So this muscle ends up getting really tired, really pissed off. So we're just gonna release it gently, just kind of give it a little rub down, not doing any hard, intense mobilizations or anything, but I'm just starting rolling right at that pelvic rim. And then, you can tell I need this myself because I'm not even focused on my breathing at all here. I want to bring focus into my breath. So I'm breathing in, and then I'm going to breathe out and just gently try to tilt my pelvis backward. So if you can't see what I'm doing, it looks like this. I'm trying to make my back round like that, what we might think of as bad posture, but I'm trying to just lengthen these muscles of the lower back and get them to chill out a little bit. So, breathing in, just kind of holding my position, putting a little pressure. You can make the pressure less by putting more weight through your hands and feet. You can make it more by putting more of the weight through your back. And then I breathe out, do the posterior pelvic tilt a little bit. I'm engaging my abs when I do that, just a little bit to help pull the pelvis backward. And I'm also engaging my glute muscles right here, which attach and pull from the bottom to tilt the pelvis backward. Just repeating that. If you've got a spot that needs a lot of work, you can spend a few breaths on that. If not, you can just work your way down. I'm going to start as I breathe in. Just relax, let my pelvis tilt forward, my back extend a little bit, and then breathe out. You can see the roller slipping a little bit. That's not a big deal. We're not taking it super seriously. Anterior pelvic tilt on the in-breath. Posterior on the exhale. right, and now once I get to the bottom of my ribs, I'm in the thoracic spine. I'm just going to breathe in, engage just all the muscles in the front. I'm just going to kind of gently flex my abs, tighten my pecs. You can't really consciously tighten your intercostal muscles here, but that's what you want to do. And then breathe out and open up. And as I breathe out, I'm just trying to sort of sink backwards, extending my thoracic spine here, but I'm not thinking about just dumping out the whole spine. I want to try to make that movement specific at the level that I'm working at. When you feel like you've done enough on one spot, just move it up a little bit. I really just want to focus on my position and my breath as much as I can. One of the real benefits of working out is mental, not just physical. And when we think about other things that, are really good mental health habits, we might think about meditation, really focusing on your breath. Yoga, focusing on your movement, focusing on your breath. All this stuff where you really have to connect to your body can get you out of your mind in a good way. All right, so now I'm over the shoulder blades. I'm switching to hand behind the head here, and I'm just trying to keep my pelvis tilted. Abs are just gently engaged, and then I'm protracting my shoulder blades, bringing my elbows together, retracting them, pulling the elbows apart. And that's kind of smushing the muscles that are between your shoulder blades and spine across the foam roller. Be gentle. You don't have to force it. Should feel good. If you can only do this much, that's fine. But I want to protract, separate my shoulder blades, kind of expose the muscles between the shoulder blades and spine to the roller, and then breathe out, retract. And this should feel good. You should not be overdoing it with the pressure. Okay, now I'm going to switch to the neck, and I'm just starting at the bottom here. Just above the nub right here is usually C6 or C7 depending on your genetics, but I'm just going to start there and just gently do a chin tuck. And as much as I can, I want to power this with my neck muscles in here, my deep cervical flexors that are behind the throat. But I don't want to use these sternocleidomastoid muscles here in the front at all. Of course, I'm covering up the microphone, hitting it. I just want to breathe in, tuck the chin, lift as high as I can, breathe out. If you can't do it without using your sternocleidomastoid, you just help out with your fingers, just a little bit. And you only want to help out as much as you need to and no more. Not only am I stretching the muscles of the, let's try that. Not only am I stretching the muscles of the posterior cervical spine to get really tight, get achy necks and upper backs, and knots in the shoulders and all that, I'm strengthening the deep cervical flexor muscles that will help maintain better posture in the future and reverse that, forward head, staring at the phone, hunched over the laptop position. And then as I get to the upper cervical spine, I'm just really, really tight on this left side, so I'm just going to smush over that a little bit, very gently, by just trying to keep my shoulders level, just rotating my neck, smushing those muscles. You can be really gentle with this if it's really stiff, or you can try to kind of mobilize it a little bit. You can help out with your hands. Be careful doing this yourself. You gotta just be gentle. I know what I'm doing here. Okay, now I'm coming up to the top, and I've got the pressure just under the base of the skull. Suboccipital muscles is what
are there, and they're these really tight little upper neck muscles that when they get too tight can squeeze a nerve and cause a headache. And I don't know about you, but when I get depressed, sometimes I get headaches. So, and again, I want to really do that chin tuck as much as I can, and I'm just adding a little overpressure from my hand to really stretch these muscles, just because I don't have the active range of motion, just using my cervical flexors to get a good structure there. Okay. That's all for the foam roller. Really simple. I'm just gonna move my spine a little bit from the bottom up. I'm just gonna start by doing this. I call this the can. Arms out, and I'm just kicking across. You don't have to bang the floor. That was a mistake. I want to just control the movement, use my hip flexor and my abs to keep my lower back on the ground, and I'm just getting a little rotation. If you might be doing this just like this, or maybe even with your knee bent and just barely doing any rotation at all, that's totally fine. If you have a little more flexibility, you can keep the legs straight and try to kick up towards the opposite hand, but control it. That first one was an example of when you don't control it. When you don't control it, it's just like, and that's not really as beneficial as smooth, controlled movement. I can do it fast. I can do a bunch of them. It doesn't have to be easy, depending on what you want, but just control it. And again, if this is all you do, that's fine. Don't worry about making it hard. Just, you're doing something. You're not eating Cinnamon Toast Crunch or playing Football Manager. Okay. Next, I'm going to be on my back with my lower leg supported. This is the easiest way, and feet against something. This could just be a couch, you know. You don't have to have the perfect setup. That doesn't matter. All that matters could be an armchair or whatever you have. Plyo box, doesn't matter. But this is the easiest way. It's a little harder to do it just against the wall with just your feet pressing against the wall and engaging your glutes a little bit and your abs a little more. But this is fine. This is just a little more supportive way to do this. So I'm going to be here. I'm going to have my hands up, just reaching up toward the ceiling, protracting my shoulder blades. I'm going to just gently tilt my pelvis backward so that my lower back is flat on the ground. And all I'm going to do, breathe in, try to breathe really, really deep, open up, expand my ribs. Breathe out. Pull everything in tight. Engage the abs, engage the rib muscles, obliques, everything. Squeeze as tight as you can, keeping your lower back on the ground. Breathe in, get big, but out to the side. Your ribs should be pushing out wide. Your lower back should be pushing into the ground. And then breathe out, squeeze everything in tight. Breathing in, opening up. Think breathing into the lower back, breathing down into the butt, breathing into the side of the ribs, into your obliques, breathing down below your belly button. Your lungs don't go down there. I understand the anatomy. Believe me, it's just an image to help you think. And then breathing out, contracting everything in tight, pulling the belly button in. Breathe in. Open up, get big, as much air as you can fit in there. Breathe out. Everything in tight. Pull the belly button in. Big deep breath. As big as you can be. Lower back's pressed into the ground hard. Breathe out. Squeeze tight. This is hard work. We're just laying here breathing and we're working hard. And what we're really training is a muscle called transversus abdominis, as well as the intercostal muscles. All the abs, everything is getting work, but especially transversus abdominis, which is a belt-like muscle that wraps and compresses the abdomen. We train it by breathing in and expanding, forcing it to eccentrically contract and support us getting huge. And then we strengthen it concentrically by squeezing everything in. Breathe in. Breathe out. All right, now, I'm just gonna relax for a second. Now, I'm gonna incorporate the pelvic floor into this. So as I breathe in, I wanna think about my sit bones moving apart. If you know what your pelvic floor feels like to contract, you can just relax the pelvic floor. If you don't, you can think about also, in addition to letting the sit bones separate, which these ischial tuberosities down here, these are your sit bones, if you just push in through the very center of your butt cheeks. If you don't know what that feels like or that doesn't work for you, you can think about to contract the pelvic floor is the same sensation as stopping the flow of urine. So to relax the pelvic floor is the opposite of that. Obviously, if you need to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. Don't pee yourself, but that's the muscle action that we want to think about. Okay, so breathing in, relaxing the pelvic floor. It's like a piston. The diaphragm goes down, pelvic floor opens up. Then diaphragm goes up as I exhale, pelvic floor contracts and comes up. That's how pelvic floor works. When it relaxes, it lowers. When it contracts, it comes up. Okay? So we're going to sync that with the breathing now. I'm going to breathe in. And whatever you want to do with your hands. This is a little bit more work to protract, reach up, but you can check your position, lower back against the ground. You can check the ribs. You can check whatever you need to do. Okay? So breathing in, relaxing the pelvic floor, getting as big as I can. Just hold that, be huge. Let the pelvic floor relax, sit bones move apart, just everything is calm down there, and then breathe in and pull that upward. Breathe out and pull that upward. You can think about sort of tightening the sphincter, stopping the flow of urine, lifting up the pelvic floor. Breathe in, let it relax. Sit bones move apart. Breathe out. Actively contract, pull the sit bones together. Forgot to do it that time. What you'll find is if you're not very good at this or don't have a lot of experience, your pelvic floor is going to be like hitchy as it moves. It's not going to be this smooth, nice contraction, but that's what you want to practice, is having that smooth, fully controlled contraction of the pelvic floor. And then once you have that, then we want to develop strength and endurance with that. Breathing in, everything expands, pelvic floor drops, sit bones move apart. Breathing out, all of those movements reverse themselves. Just gonna lift up my legs off you can lift one at a time, however you want to do it, just to make it a little harder. Breathing in, lift one leg up. Breathe out. Very controlled, lower it down, and just set hardly any of its weight back down. Just let the heel gently touch. Breathe in, lift up the other one. Everything's tight and really expanded and open down here. Breathe out. Pelvic floor comes up, everything's fully contracted and tight. All right, very good. Now, I'm gonna do a little bit of hip flexor work. We worked on breathing mechanics, opening up, just getting big. Now I'm just gonna work on just using my hip flexors in a controlled way. So I'm gonna just stay down here, arms at my side. One knee comes up, lowers down. Breathe out as I bring it up. Breathe in as I expand outward. Breathe out as I pull it in. My lower back is staying pressed to the ground the whole time. Breathe out as I bring it down. Or breathe in as I bring it down. And I'm trying to actively extend the opposite leg as I flex this one really hard. Same breathing mechanics as before, of course. Okay, that's good enough. We just worked the hip flexor. Now we're going to stretch it. Put a cushion down, make it easy on the knee. Back foot straight back or a little bit outside. Okay, this is internal rotation of the hip joint to move the foot that way. That one confuses a lot of people, internal versus external in different positions, but don't worry about that. Just worry about getting your glute to contract. That's step one. I just want to make my butt cheek firm, tilt my pelvis backwards, use my abs a little bit, just like we were doing earlier on the foam roller, that posterior pelvic tilt. I'm just going to do that here. And just take a few breaths to try to get into that. I'm going to tuck my chin and lift my head up. I'm going to externally rotate my shoulders and let them drop downward. Upper traps are just totally relaxed here. In fact, I'm actively externally rotating. This might even stretch out my pecs in the front of my shoulders. Tucking the chin. Getting as tall as I can, lifting that uppermost hair on the top back of my head up towards the ceiling. Neck's getting really long. Butt is still on. Abs are on. Okay. Very good. Same exact thing. Other side. All right. Gonna just posterior pelvic tilt first. Squeeze the butt with the foot slightly out for me, internally rotated slightly. Rotating the pelvis forward. This left side's tighter for me, so I have to work a little bit harder to get into it. Really gonna focus on squeezing the glute, getting that nice and firm, and then internally rotating my hips to get my opposite hip forward. The more I can get this butt cheek forward, the better stretch I'm going to get into extension plus internal rotation. So glute is on, pelvis is rotated forward, belly is tight, abs are working hard, pulling up on the front of the pelvis. Head is up and back, chin is tucked, shoulders are actively externally rotated, and just relax, pulling down even actively. Upper traps doing nothing at all, lower traps, rotator cuff muscles, rhomboids, middle trap, all these retractors, depressors are working hard. And again, chin tuck. We're just reversing your kind of dumped out, sad sitting posture. Glute is working really, really hard. Couple more breaths. Okay, just going to do a little extension here. So I'm on the ground. Some people call this up dog or cobra pose. I'm gonna put my hands farther back if your wrists are more flexible, or you want to make it a little harder, go a little farther, put your hands farther up to make it a little easier. Okay, so just find what's right for you. Shoulder blades squeeze back and down. Okay, it's gonna sound funny here. I'll try to do my best. Shoulder blades squeeze back and down. Chin is tucked. Okay, back of the head is going that way. Neck is getting really long. And I'm just gonna push myself up a little bit and pull from my lower back here. Glutes are on, hips are extended. Chin is tucked. I'm extending, extending, extending. Using your hands, but only as little as you need to. Glutes stay on. Try to keep the chin tucked and actively extend from the hips and the lower back. Help as much as you need by pressing, but I'm really actively working, getting big. You could do this on your elbows if you wanted. That would be totally fine. I'm just getting as big as I possibly can. Pulling the shoulders down, butt is on, abs are working. Woo! Okay, very last thing, I'm gonna work on flexing and extending the entire spine of my entire body, going from getting totally flexed to totally extended, just to really reinforce that we're trying to create this big posture here. Glutes are on, hips are externally rotated, knees are extended, shoulders are externally rotated, head is up, chin is tucked. This is sort of like a big, powerful position, sort of a mountain pose. That's the exact opposite of what I do when I feel depressed, which is a lot of this, a lot of this, a lot of this kind of stuff. So I'm trying to get myself big with all this movement. But anyway, the Jefferson Curl, flexing all the way and then pulling yourself back out of it. So start externally rotated, shoulders, chin is tucked in that posture we just talked about. Okay, starting nice and tall, and then starting from the very top. Chin tucks, upper cervical flexion. And then I'm pulling actively down. I want to relax my sternocleidomastoid, but use these deep flexors. Longus capitis, longus coli. Whew. Make that neck as long as you can. And then one vertebrae at a time from the upper thoracic spine. Glutes stay on, belly stays tight. And then I'm going to internally rotate the shoulders. Separate the shoulder blades. Get the middle thoracic spine to start to flex. And then just one vertebrae at a time, coming down very, very gradually. Controlling this. Quads are active. Hamstrings are very, very gently controlling the movement. They're contracted, but they're getting longer, sort of holding the rope and letting you down hand by hand like the spotter when you mountain climb, if you've ever gone mountain climbing. Reaching down towards the ground. Can I make it? Don't push farther than what you can do safely, but I know my limits. There we go, a couple deep breaths. Contract, relax. All right, there I go. And then one vertebrae at a time coming up. Just hamstrings first. And glutes. Really squeezing the glutes, pulling from all the way behind my knees. My hamstrings pulling on the back of my pelvis to tilt it into a posterior pelvic tilt. Staying as flexed as I can be all the way up to the top of the skull. Just doing one agonizingly slow rep. That's all we're doing. That's the whole set. Don't rush at the end. Try to keep the chin tucked right to the end as you externally rotate. And get all the way up. Okay, that's it. I'm sweating, all right? Hope that made you feel better. Hope you feel taller. Hope your body just feels better. You feel more connected with it. Hope you feel more connected to your breath, and hopefully you've just been out of your head a little bit and you can get moving. You know, maybe that wasn't the hardest workout you've ever done, but if you're not feeling great, you did something, and hopefully you're creating some momentum, and then you're doing something that's just a little bit harder tomorrow, and then a little harder than that the day after. But don't worry about all that. Just worry about you did something good today. So feel good about yourself. All right. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe. You can hit the bell, then you get a little notification every time we put out a video. I'm Dr. Sam Martin. This is the Move Better Project. We'll see you next time.